Hello, I'm Mitch Goldberg, and you are watching a very special edition of Be the Boss of Your Money. This is my live stream where we talk about personal finance, economics, business strategy, investing tips, and so many other related topics. But today's a little bit unusual because of what you see happening before your own eyes. Yes, your eyes do not deceive you. We are living in a banana boat country. And if you see what's happening in the Capitol, this is not democracy at work. This is democracy crying to be saved. That's a little dramatic, maybe a little hyperbolic, but after we dive into things, I don't think so. So this is a special edition. What's special about it? Just that financial news today really is the least important thing on your mind today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of the news, I'm going to wrap it up for you, explain it. It's going to be very clear what's happening, conscientious, and I think you're going to get a lot of value out of this. So stick with me through this show. If you have any questions, whether if you're watching right now in the live stream or if you're watching in the replay, if you have any questions, comments, really, if you have any questions, words of wisdom, I would really appreciate you asking away. Words of encouragement are always appreciated as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to roll a quick intro. We do this every day. We're going to talk about how all of this relates to markets and the big shock of the day. The stock market still managed to hit a new high in spite of everything going on. We've got a lot to cover, and I'm going to help you put all of today's news in perspective. Here goes the intro. Hello, I'm Mitch Goldberg. If you're just joining us right now, this is Be the Boss of Your Money. This is my live stream where I talk about personal finance, investing tips, the economy, how politics and everything under those umbrellas impact your wealth. That's what the show is all about, your wealth. I want you to be the boss of your money, not your money to be the boss of you. Today is to say the least, an unusual day. And we need to put it in perspective because today will pass. We'll never forget today. Today is a day that will live in infamy. Today is the day that our most sacred institutions, the Capitol building, Congress, was stormed, encouraged by a president who feels he was cheated and is trying to convince other people of the same, in spite of a lack of evidence and losing around 60 court cases, including 2 at the Supreme Court. We need to make sense of this. We need to make sure we have things under control. And we need to make sure that people don't panic and do something silly with their money because of what they're seeing now. This will pass. What to do first? The first thing to do is to realize that we are still the greatest country on earth. The second thing is to hug your loved ones, call your loved ones, tell them that you're thinking about them. I think today is a day that we could all use a little extra strength, maybe a little hug, a phone call, and a touch base. We're going to make sense of this. We have riots, flash bombs, Secret Service pulling out guns. There is so much going on. The Georgia election, which, by the way, is finished. Jon Ossoff defeats Senator Perdue, making a 50-50 split between Republican and Democratic senators, with a tie always being broken by Kamala Harris, the vice president-elect. We've got a lot to talk about. We want to talk about how this changes the equation for you, for your money, and what I think comes next. The surprise of the day is the stock market. Let's take a look at the news. We're going to fly through one item at a time, one by one. First, we're going to share the screen. We're going to take a look at what you need to see first. First, Democrats take control. with Georgia wins. A historic victory for the Democrats to take Georgia. Let's take a look at today by photos. Photos, scenes from the U.S. Capitol as rioters storm the building. There's one picture here that I don't think we could ever forget. Look at this. Guns drawn, people breaking through the doors, and these men literally had to barricade themselves in the chamber for protection with guns drawn. This is something that you are going to see this picture in 20, 30 years, and you're going to say, I remember that. Evacuation, more riots, keeping people on the outside. Police, a view from the, Capitol, top of the Capitol. Look at this, people scaling walls of the Capitol building. That is, have you ever seen anything like this? This is people up in trees, police. These people here, this is not a police officer you see in riot gear. This is just a rioter in riot gear. We need to take a look at this because we should never forget what we saw today. We should never forget any of this, what we saw today. I don't know where you are. I'm not looking to take a side. Trump slams his VP, his loyal VP, says Pence didn't have the courage to decertify results of the presidential election. So we move on. Trump tells Capitol rioters to go home now, but still falsely claims the election was stolen. So let's talk about a couple of things. Okay. This is why exactly a day like today, when there is so much news coming at you, it's really hard to absorb this much news. A human being can only absorb so much news so quickly and watch so many videos and read so many articles until your head is literally at the moment filled to capacity. It's a human condition. We can only take in so much. This is why it's so important to have what we talk about all the time on the show, an investing strategy. You see, if you have an investing strategy, it means you're not reacting on the fly. You're not making snap decisions like this, just really fast. When you make snap decisions, they're usually the wrong decisions. That's the importance of a strategy. Now, maybe your strategy is just you add to your mutual funds and your 401k plan, pay period after pay period, and this is not going to throw you off, and it shouldn't. And that's a really good strategy. That's your $1 million lottery ticket right there, right? Start young, do that consistently, 20, 30 years of compounding. But what we're seeing now, it does shake a lot of people, especially people who are trading, especially people who are in stocks over their heads, who maybe are in individual stocks, who don't realize the risk. This is why you need a strategy. This is why you need to know yourself. Look, the most important thing for any investor to know is him or herself. So strategy is everything, and you need to have a strategy in advance of a calamity like what's happening today. So we talk about strategy. We'll take a quick look at the markets. By the way, Michaela, thank you so much for joining me. Judy's out there. If you have any questions, please hit me up in the comments. I would love a shot to answer them. That's, to me, the best part of the show. We'll do a share screen again, and I'll give you the big surprise of the day. The Dow was up over 400 points. It was up over 600 points. When the calamity started, breaking up or breaking down, all hell was breaking loose. It really looked like the whole rally was going to disappear. But, stocks rebounded a little bit, and we wound up having a really good day. If you just looked at how the stock market did today, you wouldn't think anything was going on. So how could the stock market have been so steady and so brave in light of what took place today and still taking place today in Washington, D.C.? Uh, Investors have accepted the notion that a return to normal is actually the best thing for stocks and the economy. We are already in an economic recovery. Manufacturing, factory output, the jobs were coming today. Jobs numbers were a little weak. We have the December employment non-farm payroll report coming on Friday. It's a very short-term indicator, but the expectation still is we start coming out of the pandemic recession. We start improving in the economy starts to see improvements. And next summer, next fall, the economy should be really humming. A lot of pent-up demand. By the way, a lot of people have actually saved a lot of money because they haven't found anything to spend money on. So there's a lot of pent-up demand. But the story is the stock market still went up. The NASDAQ was basically down all day. No surprise, down 78 today, down less than 1%, not the end of the world. The Russell 2000 was up 4% today. The Russell 2000 is a small cap stock benchmark. Small cap stocks had a big rally today. And the VIX, the fear gauge, the worry gauge, that actually went down today, which I think a lot of people would consider basically a real shocker. So the actual today was not a bad day in the overall market. Rioters storm Capitol after Trump urges action, halting declaration of Biden victory. We saw lots and lots of images. Ted Cruz, large crowds. These people are actually dressed in bulletproof vests and fatigues with their Proud Boys and white power gear. These are not soldiers. These are actually rioters using riot fatigue. Pentagon, National Guard will head to the Capitol to tamp down pro-Trump insurrection. Congress evacuated. It's incredible. When was the last time you heard Congress was evacuated? And yet the market still went up. Let's take a look. Some of the heaviest of heavy-duty industrials still managed to go up today. United Rentals up almost 9%. Wabash, they make trailers, the trailers that go up on the back of the tractors, 18-wheeler, the trailers on the 18-wheeler, okay? The back of the 18-wheeler. So Wabash up almost 9%. That is just an incredible move for these industrials. Korn Ferry was up. Deere was up. Oshkosh, Caterpillar continues to move up. I believe that is an all-time high for Caterpillar. Even GE is solidly into the double digits. Eaton Corp, Emerson. So if people thought that this was going to have a long-lasting impact, this rioting going on in DC, the market wouldn't be up like this. But what you're seeing really is a continuation of the rotation from the stay-at-home, work-from-home, tech-related, app-related stocks. Money coming out of those. Zoom was down today as an example. Stock is down from like 588 to about $340 or so in the last, 2 months. Money's rotating out of those and into the economically sensitive stocks like industrials and financials. And speaking of financials, JP Morgan was up almost 5%. Bank of America up 6%. Citigroup up almost 6%. Wells Fargo up 7%. We finally see Bank of America and Wells Fargo trade above $30 a share. These are huge moves, which are an indication of major confidence in the economy going forward. But what has the bank stocks really worked up is this. And this, my friends, is the biggest financial story, market story of the day. Do you see this green box over here? You see that? It says U.S. 10-year. The 10-year Treasury, 1.03%. This is the first time the 10-year Treasury has been above 1% since the pandemic started. When the long-term treasury yields go up and the short-term treasury yields stay lower, they're tamped down by the Fed, aggressive Fed policy. That does wonders for the net interest margins of banks. It's a very, very steep yield curve, which is an ideal situation for banks because your deposit, they could start making money on it. Their net interest margin starts working for them instead of for us, right? Well, we want everybody to make money. But that's why the banks really rallied, because long-term yields are finally going up. And if people were worried about the economy and they thought that this insurrection in DC today was a problem for the economy, then you would have seen a flight to safety. You would have seen treasury yields go down because people would have been buying bonds. That didn't happen. Instead, economically sensitive sectors of the market worked out. Industrials, especially. Let's take a look at the FANG M names. That's Google, for example, down 1% on the day. Amazon down 2.5%. Microsoft down 2.5%. Facebook almost 3% lower. Apple over 3% lower. That's a big move, even for a giant like Apple. If you think about it, 3.3% of $2.4 trillion valuation. These are big moves. Netflix down almost 4%. On the other hand, let's take a look at what worked. Financials, these are the major, these are the ETFs that represent the major sectors of the economy. Financials up over 4%. Building materials were up. Energy was up. These are up big. Look at these percentage gains, 3%. Industrials up over 2%. And at the bottom, tech, communications, and real estate was off a little bit. Tech and the XLC and XLK. XLC is like half Facebook, Google, and Netflix. So no surprise that that's off a little bit. And XLK tech stocks were down today. So let me stop sharing the screen. That's what happened today. In spite of everything, in spite of the craziest day that we've seen in our nation, maybe since the 60s, stocks still managed to find their way higher. The rotation still continued unabated, in fact, accelerated, celebrating a return to normalcy. And I wouldn't call this a blue wave, but some people are calling what's happening because of the Senate a light blue wave. More stimulus checks, okay, infrastructure spending. These are all very good for economically sensitive stocks. What took a hit today? Defense contractors and companies that would typically do well in a pandemic, who could grow their earnings no matter what. Growth, like big tech, those are the ones that did poorly because they don't really have an advantage in a strong economy. You see, the Microsofts of the world, the Googles, the Facebooks, their advantage is that they can grow earnings at a very healthy clip when the economy is weak or when we're in actual recession. But industrials, banks, energy, materials, consumer discretionary, they can make a ton of money when the economy gets stronger. The big danger is if the economy doesn't actually recover sometime during the third quarter, then that sets us back and we have to start asking, maybe we got overly excited over nothing. But until then, the sector rotation remains very, very strong. I don't really see anything knocking that train off the tracks. All right. I think I've covered everything. So belief in the economy continues in spite of what's happening today. And remember this, there's no strategy that can, well, let me see. There's nothing like having a strategy. This is why today you need a strategy, which we covered earlier in this session. If you don't have a strategy, you're welcome to DM me, call me, hit me up in the comments, and we can talk about various investing strategies. We will get through this. I hope we'll be stronger from this. I wish I could say more, but I just really couldn't tell you. It's a crazy day in the world. I thank you so much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow.